A snowstorm had cloaked the hamlet in stillness. Ice coated the borders of windows, and winds roared through vacant streets like whispers of forgotten grief. Inside a faintly lit bistro on the town's outskirts, a man stood behind the counter, cleaning tables unvisited by guests for hours. His hands, weathered from years of hard work, showed scars of perseverance, and his apron held stains from countless plates served with devotion. He turned toward the door as the bell above it chimed softly. There they were, two shivering children, soaked, hungry and fearful, their faces pressed against the glass like shadows of want. That moment would shift everything. Yet, the man could never have guessed that one small act of generosity on that icy winter day would resonate across decades. 22 years later, a polished ebony Mercedes pulled up before that same venue. No longer a rundown eatery, it had transformed into a sanctuary of care, warmth and legacy. The journey between is a tale of hardship, sacrifice and redemption you'll never erase from memory. If you believe kindness can reshape a life, that second chances are vital, and that even the smallest deed can return tenfold, please like this video, drop your thoughts in the comments, share it with someone craving hope today, and subscribe to TaleHook. Let's spread the power of compassion together. Thomas Bennett never intended to stay in that hamlet. He once dreamed of becoming a chef in a lively city, running a cozy tavern where music swirled like laughter. But life had other plans. After his mother's death and his younger sister's struggle with addiction, Thomas gave up everything to raise his young niece. With bills stacking up and his dreams slipping away each day, he took a job as a waiter and cook at a faded roadside bistro. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest. In a town where faces passed like haze, Thomas became a quiet pillar, remembering names, listening without judgment, and serving not just food, but dignity. During one brutally cold winter he saw them, a boy about 11 and a girl barely 6. They huddled outside the bistro's door, dressed in thin, ragged clothes, their eyes wide with the terror only abandonment can teach. Thomas felt a sting, not of pity, but of recognition. He had been them once, after his father vanished, when hunger was a frequent companion. Without pause, he opened the door, invited them in, and set down 2 steaming bowls of soup, so hot they misted the windows. He didn't ask their names or probe with questions. He simply said, "Eat. You're safe here." The boy, hesitant, at first, broke a piece of bread and shared half with his sister. Her tiny hands quivered as she held the spoon. Thomas watched from a distance, his eyes glistening. Over the next hour, the children consumed the meal, their silence louder than words. Thomas packed extra sandwiches, slipped a 20 into the bag, and told them they could come back any time. They never did. That night, he stayed until closing, glancing at the door every few minutes. But the next morning and beyond, they were gone. Still, their faces lingered in his mind, haunting, hopeful, unresolved. Years passed. Thomas kept working. The bistro, once struggling, began to flourish. Locals came not just for the meals, but for the man who remembered their birthdays, checked on their sick relatives, and cooked for families who couldn't pay. When the owner retired, Thomas gathered every penny, took a bold loan, and bought the place. He named it Bennett's Sanctuary. It was no longer just a restaurant. It became a refuge during storms, a warm space for the homeless, a community kitchen on holidays. Thomas still wore his apron, still crafted every dish with quiet grace. But now it was his kitchen, his vision. Yet his life wasn't without pain. His niece, raised like a daughter, struggled through high school, faced depression, and left for college on a scholarship, only to lose contact for years. He never stopped writing to her. Every birthday, every Christmas, he sent a letter and a gift, praying she was safe. Nights were often lonely, his body weary, his heart heavy with regrets. Still, he held on to hope. Hope was all he had. Then, One crisp morning, 22 years after that snowy night, Thomas was prepping the kitchen before dawn when a low hum echoed outside. He looked through the frosted window. Parked in front of the bistro-turned-hotel was a Mercedes, sleek, black, and almost out of place in their humble town. The door opened, and a sharply dressed young man with a confident posture and familiar eyes stepped out. Beside him, a woman in a crimson coat with golden hair stepped lightly on the snow-covered path. Thomas's heart paused. Could it be? The man walked into the bistro-turned-hotel with reverence, studying every inch as if it was sacred. Spotting Thomas, he smiled, a slow, trembling smile that broke into tears. "You probably don't remember us," he said softly, "but you saved our lives." The woman stepped forward, now crying. "I was the girl in the purple sweater. You gave us soup and safety we never forgot." Thomas stood frozen, the weight of recognition hitting him. The young man continued, "My name is Nathan. My sister Lily and I were in foster care for years after that. But that one act of kindness, it stayed with us. It gave us hope. It gave us a reason to survive." Nathan had become a tech entrepreneur, his company now among the country's top startups. Lily, a pediatric surgeon, had created a program to provide free care to underserved children. Both had dedicated their lives to helping others, all inspired by a single act of grace. "We searched for you for years," Lily said, voice shaking, "and now we want to give back." Outside, the townsfolk gathered as Nathan handed Thomas a set of keys. The Mercedes wasn't just a symbol of wealth, it was a sign of full-circle gratitude. But that wasn't all. They also handed him a letter confirming they had paid off his remaining debts and committed a $2 million donation to Bennett's Sanctuary to expand into a community outreach center. Thomas, overwhelmed, fell into their arms, tears falling like rain on snow. The town cheered, but more than that they wept, for they had always known Thomas's worth. And now the world knew it too. If this story touched your heart, please consider liking the video, sharing it with someone needing hope, and subscribing to TaleHook. Let's remind the world that no act of kindness is ever wasted, and that love, in the end, always finds its way home. Special request. Tell us in the comments, what's the kindest thing a stranger ever did for you? Your story might inspire someone today.